Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Future of Biz Tech. I'm your host, JC Granger. I have another fantastic guest with us on the show today. And listen, if you end up loving this episode, please show your love and appreciation by following this podcast wherever you're listening. Be sure to give it a 5-star review, preferably with some nice comments, because that is how other techies like you and I find cool podcasts like this. So today, I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Matheus Riolfi, who is the co-founder and CEO of Tint.ai. Matheus, thank you so much for being on the show. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what it is that you guys do?
Hi, JC. Thank you so much for having me. So as you mentioned, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tint. We help tech platforms embed insurance into their products. So think about, the last time you use Airbnb or Uber, you don't even think about it, but there's actually insurance being transacted with your service. And that's a little bit of what Tint helps. We will make easy for any tech platform to make insurance as part of their product and services, so they can sell more, they can get more profitability out of it.
So let's talk about that. I found this very fascinating because I haven't seen anything like this, right? And I'm a tech guy. I see a lot of stuff. And I thought this was interesting. I want to dive a little deeper into that. So give me an example. And here's the way I see it, but I want to know if I'm wrong here. So when you're saying that a company can offer insurance to its customers for the use of their platform, is that like saying if I'm using an email marketing software and it accidentally sends out the email with the token of first name instead of the actual name, I say, whoa, what the hell? And there's an insurance, I guess, give me an example of where the insurance comes in and what types of platforms people typically would want to see this on.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get an example of a real customer that is public. There's a company called Neighbor, which is think about Airbnb for storage. So you can rent out your garage space for somebody else and they can leave their things there, a car, boxes, whatever it is. And we help Neighbor create a kind of protection product that, if you leave your things in storage, something happens, it's broken, there's water damage, whatever may happen, you get paid, right? So the idea is that all the companies we work with, by making insurance a feature of their products, they actually the value of their product and service increases to the customers, right? So at the beginning of the show, I thought about I mentioned the Airbnb idea. So if there's damage, you rent out your place on Airbnb, there's damage. As a host, you get paid because Airbnb got some insurance in place. So imagine Airbnb now have to go and convince people to let strangers come to their house with no assurance and saying, by the way, if something wrong happens, and it will happen, it's your problem. You are by yourself. So obviously the service wouldn't work without that protection.
Okay, now that makes sense. That I get. And I was thinking Airbnb when you were saying that Mayborn one. What about other digital types of what about software platforms of use for B2B, right? Because those are more B2C. So yes. I understand a consumer need for insurance. Can you give us an example of a B2B style one?
Absolutely. So we've seen a huge trend in a lot of different vertical SaaS platforms. So vertical SaaS being those companies where businesses can run their operations. So again, one of our customers called Guesty, they help property managers rent out their spaces in Airbnb, Vrbo, or many different channels. So they can run their calendars, they can run their cleaning, all those kind of services that they need to do to manage the property on Guesty. Guesty is de facto their operating system. So what we do, we work with those kinds of companies to help them make protection as one part of the stack that they offer, because now they're covering one more necessity that the business will have. And the beauty, that we're seeing with this vertical SaaS and others, is that they know the customer very well. They have the direct relationship, so they already pay to acquire that customer. So it's literally the insurance distribution, the insurance, the protection product comes as a net profit center to those companies.
That's cool. So I was looking at your website, which I have over here too on my other screen. If anyone sees me going this way, it's oh yeah, I was looking at some other stuff here too. Tell me about how your system decides how the insurance, let's say numbers work? I mean, it's Tint.ai, right? So there's an artificial intelligence somewhere in here. Let's talk about the tech, like the fun stuff, the tech stuff. Like, how is it deciding and figuring out what to charge, what to cover, things like that?
Sure. So the way we work is that we do three main things to those companies, right? It's a way to provide this end-to-end solution to help them create their own embedded protection products. So we help them with all the technology. So as you mentioned, all the core systems that run in the background, from who sees what price they seize, who do we keep track of who purchased what, if there's a damage, like how does this person get paid, like all of those things. This is what kind of our software stack. And then we also help those companies with the back office and compliance. Insurance is a highly regulated space, so there are a lot that goes behind the scenes to make that happen in the right way. And then we also help those companies kind of transfer the risk, so getting some insurance or reinsurance partners that would actually take the risk if those companies work. Now, if you double click on the software part, which is more the AI piece, yeah, we can support any pricing logic, and we work with actuaries. We work with some of the kind of data and actuary folks to come up with like what's the right price that should be charged for the users. And we have everything from the same price for everybody, very simple, all the way to using machine learning, some sophisticated algorithms to try to come up with this pricing.
Can people set their own pricing, or is it just based off the model from your software?
It's a combination of both. We typically can provide some expertise and some guidance, but we have a partnership with our customers where they eventually control the customer, they control the user expertise, so they are welcome to tweak some of those kind of pricing suggestions that we may come up with.
Nice. Okay. So what motivated you to start this company? I mean, like, what kind of history do you have? Were you working for some insurance company and you're like, this is crap and I need to I need to make the system better? I mean, like, just what was your motivation for even creating this?
Yeah, I think you're right. So that was a little bit of the motivation. So I mean, as most people work in insurance, I came to this path a little bit by accident. So I joined, I'm originally from Brazil, graduated from business school, and I joined a company called Turo, a peer-to-peer car sharing marketplace. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar business now, but when I joined, it was not 15 people startup. And it turns out like I was leading the international expansion. And
I hope you kept your stock options, by the way.
I did. Luckily, I did exercise them all. So that I spent 4 years with the company. But yeah, my job was to launch the business abroad. And 80% of my time was spent understanding insurance, understanding how things were working in Canada, in the UK, in France, in many other countries. And in parallel, my co-founder, who was also another employee at Turo, was the head of data science. So he was coming up with the models, this pricing logics that you asked for, that you talked about, and we kind of realized the same problem and opportunity, right? The opportunity was that Turo was launching and processing hundreds of millions of dollars of insurance premiums, right, or protection fees, as they call it. So we're seeing the clear benefit, and the business really couldn't exist without this insurance protection. But we also saw how hard it was for a company that is not in the core business of insurance, that doesn't have software engineers that are dedicated to this piece of the business, like how hard it was for them to actually make things work. So that's really what inspired us to start Tint, to make it easy, really the product that we wish existed when we were working at Turo and creating similar products for them.
Very cool. Does this apply to any kind of service based, right? Because like so far what I'm hearing, it's more about when there's products or something at risk, which makes sense for insurance. But let's say, for example, like I'm dating a girl who owns a talent agency right now. So every now and then something can happen, and a client can, let's say, pay to have talent show up for a certain gig, but something could happen and that talent either doesn't make it, or they maybe they break something while they're there. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Would your insurance work for a business like that, or a business like mine, like marketing, right? If marketing goes bad, like if an advertising agency puts out something that is false advertising, for example, by accident or on purpose, who knows? Can that be covered through what you're doing? So how about service-based industries?
Absolutely. So there, for example, we have one of our customers, it's called Deal. So they help companies hire contractors abroad, and they provide all the contracts, the payments, like everything you need to have a contractor working for you in a country outside the US. And we worked with them to create what is called misclassification guarantee. So basically, if Deal tells you it's okay to hire this person, say in Italy, as a contractor, and it turns out they're wrong, and then this person ends up suing you for a misclassification, like for saying that actually he or she was an employee, not a contractor. This coverage, this protection from Deal, will pay the legal fees up to a certain amount. So this is an example of a pure service where the protection can work. In your example of the talent, I think one way of thinking is like, as a business, what are the risks that your customer has when they are contracting you, that if you were to get those risks to go away, you would sell more? That is the most, like, the ultimate way of thinking about embedded insurance, embedded protection. Because if there's a clear risk, in this case, the risk is like your talent breaking something, then you structure a product and say, by the way, you can have a premium tier of my service that if that were to happen, then you're covered up to X amount.
And if they deny the coverage, in a way that can also maybe protect the business from a lawsuit, it's like, hey, we gave them a chance to cover this and they didn't. Now, that may not work in every state, but I could see a legal argument. If you offer insurance and something goes wrong, it might help you in a lawsuit if you're sued for the thing that went wrong, that they declined the coverage for.
Yeah, I think the way we work normally with those things is like, we have a compliance department and with the legal team that will kind of go to the bottom of this and know the exact use case, know exactly what's happening, to just confirm like whether or not, say, what you're saying it's right. But the principle seems to apply, right? Which is like you're naming that risk, and then in a way you're kind of offering the ability to go away. So that's it's a good way of being transparent. And the reality is, like, your customers, if the risk is real, your customers are already thinking about it. And in our case, like a lot of our prospects, that when they come to us, they are already hearing from their customers that there is a pain point. So those are the kind of the best use cases for us, when it's like, you're already hearing, you're already dealing with that pain. So we help you transform that pain into a profit center, or something that not only protect your customer, but also kind of accelerates your growth and your profitability.
Very cool. So I'm a marketing guy by trade, right? So my next question is, how are you guys getting the word out there about it? I mean, you're on a podcast, so that's one thing, right? You got a PR angle, right? But beyond that, are you guys doing like paid ads, social media, SEO? I mean, what kind of things do you use to get out into the market?
We do have like some PR related efforts or thought leadership efforts. I think it's a very nascent industry, so there's quite a bit of education and that we do, and I think that we see that as a way to just kind of put the message out there. We do have a lot of content creation, so not necessarily thought leadership directly, but blogs and content in other channels as well, because again, relates to the education piece. We also have a direct sales force or an outbound channel where we can reach out to companies and like create meetings. So we are using a combination of both. We don't do a lot of pay or didn't do a lot of pay in 2022. I think it's absolutely in our plan for 2023 to be more aggressive on paid. But our hypothesis is that paid we're not at the point, the industry or the vertical being such nascent, it's not at the point yet where paid will be the most scalable kind of high ROI channel. But we will start making a lot more experiments with that next year.
Yeah, you have a lot to choose from, right? I mean, I like what you're doing because it's fairly unique. I'm sure you have competitors, everyone does, right? But I can guarantee it's small, right? Because this type of thing, especially with the way you do it, I think is very cool and very unique. Future biz tech podcast, I got to ask the question, the future questions, right?
Yeah.
First one is, where do you see the industry of this type of insurance going, right? So you and your competitors, and just in general, I mean, this is something that I think is going to evolve just given where things are going. So where do you see that next 5 to 10 years, whether it be because of regulation or legislation or technology or just economy? Where do you see the overall industry of where you're at evolving to?
Yeah, we are in my point of view, most exciting time in the insurance industry since it was created hundreds of years ago, right? I know that exciting and insurance are not necessarily two terms that go together. For the most
I didn't want to say, I kind of wanted to say it, but I was like, that is like, you heard it here first, guys. Exciting and insurance used in the same sentence. But I agree with you, because this stuff fascinates me. I like the tech side of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what's happening here, right? The bigger trend of like we're talking about here is that insurance is becoming a feature, not a product, right? You have now all those tech platforms, and again, we use Airbnb and Uber as examples, but those now came 10, 15 years ago, and obviously they are at scale now. But there are many examples like Apple, Flexport, Tesla. Like everywhere you look, you see non-insurance companies launching their own embedded insurance products because they realize that makes their core business better. So in a way, like think about insurance, right? Is this product that was created 300 years ago that kind of looks and feels the same? And even with the internet of like the beginning of the 2000s and the mobile app in the 2010s or so, it was still the same product. It's just that instead of being sold by an agent on the street, it was sold via a mobile app or via a website. But fundamentally the same product, same everything. With embedded, that changes, right? Because again, the companies are going to be the ones driving it. It's like Apple Care is branded by Apple. It's run by Apple, where it's part of Apple stack when you buy an iPhone, and it's a protection product, right? And in this new world, everything changes. The unit economics change because now Geico's and Progressives of the world spend 25% of the dollar that you pay in premiums in advertising. So every time you have your car insurance, then you spend $1,000 a year, 250 to 300 of that go to that Geico on TV and on the radio that you see over and over. So in this world where the customer has already been acquired, that expense is gone. Apple already paid for the iPhone advertising, so the Apple Care distribution cost is virtually zero. And then all the technology, like all the things that happen behind the scenes. So in 10 years, a lot of the insurance products won't be standalone anymore. There will be features of brands that people love.
I like that idea, that the feature instead of a product. That's interesting. Okay, so let's dial down a little bit more now. Let's talk about your coming Tint. Let's say where do you see you guys in the next 6 to 12 months? And if you have any like cool roadmap features, like my audience loves to hear the new stuff first, right? What can you give us? What kind of preview can we extract out of you today?
It's a great question. So we being the last few months really laser focused on or like launching new products in the shipping vertical. Like we had over 10 different use cases on our platform already, but we've seen shipping as one that was getting a lot of traction. So you see a lot of our kind of next kind of rollouts coming on the shipping and shipping protection in industry. And in 6 to 12 months, I think you should expect to see a lot on the vacation rental as well. So again, supporting the property owners who are putting their properties out for short-term rentals and making sure that when things that go wrong, and they will in a certain percentage of the times, they get paid, and then they can keep making money with their product.
Perfect. That's awesome. So thank you for those two, because I always need that in the podcast. We always got to look ahead, not just what's right here. I want to ask you a personal question. We're going to switch gears a little bit here.
Mhm.
What did you want to do when you were a kid? Like, what did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a kid? And then is this it? Did you want to be like a tech, CEO, or was it a firefighter? And then how did you get to here from there, kind of thing?
So I wanted to be two things, right? So I'm lucky that I end up in one of the two options. I think I wanted to be a athlete. I always loved sports in general. I'm again from Brazil. I played soccer from a very early age. I played tennis from an early age as well. Unfortunately, I was never really good to pursue that professionally. So that route was off the table. But the other route was to be a founder. So I was one of those kind of kids where had the lemon stand type of things.
You were the hustler. You were the hustler kid.
Exactly. I was doing things, and then creating things on the side, trying to monetize a few ideas here and there. So I always enjoyed that. So I mean, luckily I end up really in one of the two options that I really wanted for me in the future.
So that's great, because a lot of people, some people nail it, right? And other people, like, just life kind of pulls them in different directions. And you should be able to adapt to changing circumstances and things like that. So that's cool, though. I like that. I love that you're from Brazil. My first international trip I ever did, first time I ever used my passport, I went to Rio for Carnival, 10 days solo, and
Nice.
it was wild. Like,
I
absolutely
can imagine.
wild. Oh man, that was my first trip. Like, talk about diving head first into an empty pool, right? Like, it was nuts.
That is probably the most intense time you can come to Brazil. So you got from 0 to 1,000 right away.
Yeah, and I was staying in Ipanema, right? And like right there on the border. It was fantastic. So love your country. Although I will say, and this is a warning to anyone, they have this thing out there called the Black Sun. And I'd never heard of this term, the Black Sun. And I was like, what's the Black Sun? And I found out the hard way, because I was sitting on the beach under this like cabana thing, right? Like an umbrella cabana thing. And half of my foot was outside of the shade, just half. Maybe sitting there for 15 minutes talking to someone. Look down at my foot, and it is, beet red. That one half. And I was like, how is that possible to get that burned that fast? And apparently just the humidity and the haze that's up near, when the sun's out, they call it the Black Sun, because you can basically burn so fast. And I was completely unprepared for that. I was like, whoa. So anyone listening, just make sure that you wear your sunscreen and have a lot of shade if you're going to be out there when the haze is out. So yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Matheus, how can people reach you? Well, first, how can they reach the company if they want to just check out the website and whatnot? And then how can they reach you personally if they have some bigger prospective higher-end deals for you?
So the company can go through our website. We have many kind of forms in different ways there. We do check all of them. We guarantee that you're going to get an answer. So that's a definitely good place to start. If you want to reach out to me,
it's Tint.ai, right? Tint.
Exactly. Tint.ai.
Perfect.
And then if you want to talk with me personally, a good channel can be my LinkedIn. So you can just probably search my name. You will find me. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn. So be happy to chat more.
And for anyone listening, it's Matheus, Matheus, and then Riolfi, Riolfi, correct?
That is right.
Perfect. This way, if they're trying to find you on LinkedIn, make sure they don't end up with someone else, right?
Yeah. The good news is that I do believe there's only one Matheus Riolfi in the world. So I think you're probably not going to get, if you spell it right.
One of a kind. Hear that, ladies? He's one of a kind. For everyone listening out there, again, if you liked what you heard today, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, give it a 5-star rating, put some cool comments behind it, so others like other techies like us can find it and enjoy learning about all the really cool B2B tech software on the market today. Matheus, thank you so much for being on the show, and I actually look forward to talking to you after this, because I have a lot of interest in your feature type product here soon. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, JC. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.